Hey guys, Albert here coming to you tonight with my review of the new Asylum movie, Sharknado 4, The Fourth Awakens. And if you don't know me and know what my shtick is, I should say right off the bat that I am a huge fan of The Asylum and their work. The Asylum is the production company that puts out these Sharknado films. They put out a lot of ridiculous, over-the-top, really low-budget films, the kind you might see frequently on the Sci-Fi Channel. And I've been a pretty big fan of the Sharknado franchise. Although, for me, the superior Shark franchise is obviously Mega Shark. But Sharknado, at the very least, it's gotten people on board with this schlock that the Asylum's putting out. And the sort of ironic enjoyment of the bad special effects and the subpar acting and the various ridiculous plot twists that you'll come across. And so, if for no other reason than it gets other people into my little weird sphere of fandom of crazy, out there, odd, cheap movies, I like the Sharknado movies. 3, for me, was the pinnacle of the series. 3 is the one that I could really personally sink my teeth into and say, this was the best one. 1 and 2, I felt like I liked the idea behind them, but they weren't able to quite get there. And 3, I thought, finally reached that pinnacle. And now we're here with 4. 4 just came out tonight. I've just watched it, and I'm still kind of processing my thoughts about it. But the general sense that I get from this iteration of the Sharknado franchise is that the whole thing is kind of starting to collapse under its own weight. What do I mean by that? The cameos are incessant here. And I'm a fan of a lot of the cameo stuff that has happened in the previous Sharknado movies. In previous Sharknado movies, you would have a famous weatherman from a city who I don't know, but I mean, I recognize, like, okay, this guy's a weatherman, and he's playing a weatherman in Sharknado. That's great. And you'd have people like David Hasselhoff show up, and he actually plays a character, right? Like, that's a David Hasselhoff being David Hasselhoff, but still, he shows up and he's fun. And there were a lot of the other kind of throwaway cameos in 3, but even in 3, I felt like I at least recognized some of the people. I felt like they were real people who I actually should know who they were. By the time we get to 4, they're just taking anybody who's ever had, like, any kind of show or reality TV thing, or like they were in a commercial that one time, or they're related to somebody that has a reality TV show. It's become unhinged to the point where it's distracting from the story, which I realize I'm going to get a lot of flack from being like, well, the Sharknado story is not that important, but it kind of is. Right? Like, if I'm going to be into your movie, if I'm going to get into what you're doing and saying, hey, I'm enjoying this on a schlocky level, even so, you gotta stick with something. And they cut away to something and someone new, I think, once every 5 minutes, if not more often. And the other part of that, I said something new, and that's kind of another victim of the Sharknado franchise sort of starting to collapse under its own weight, I think, because you have all these new ideas. You have the Bouldernado. Dude, it's just rocks. In fact, I'm pretty sure there's another tornado movie called Stonenado. That's probably why they couldn't call this a Stonenado, because they would be ripping off a different company's bad, stupid not sharks, but still tornadoes. I was going to make a big deal. I realize this is a stupid thing to make a big deal about, so I won't make a big deal about it. But how in the world, all these sharks, that starts out in Las Vegas, and the Sharknado comes across the desert, and it's a big dirt devil, and a dust devil, the Sandnado. And that's okay. That's fine. Whatever. Sandnado. Great. And they make a point to show you where the sharks come from because it's Las Vegas. It's not close to the ocean. Doesn't make any sense for a water spout in Las Vegas to have sharks in it. But they show the giant shark tank on top of the guy's new casino that he's opening up. That's all fine. That tornado sucks up those sharks. Am I supposed to be buying that every single other Sharknado we see from there had those sharks in it from that tank? Or there were other shark tanks just around the Midwest, which is where most of this movie takes place? Because I don't buy that. I don't buy that. I have reached my limit of credulity, okay? I understand. The great thing was in Sharknado 4, Cassie Sherbo's character shows up, and she has this whole great spiel about how the sharks are adapting to live in the clouds, right? They have they're eating birds, they can stay up there longer, and it was kind of cool to have that, and then they never did anything with that, and I thought maybe they would do something more with that this time, but no. They're just sort of like saying, hey, listen, if you're still here, we're just going to assume that you're going to roll with it. And to a point, yes, but especially with all the other nonsense going on, again, with all the cameos, you start to be taken out of the process and thinking, wait, what? Why are there sharks in that particular tornado? Even if we accept the possibility of Sharknadoes, even if we're cool with that, maybe not every tornado would have a shark in it. I don't know what these people would do if they just hit a regular tornado. The bummer is, I think if you strip out all that extraneous stuff, if you strip out all of the extra cameos, if you strip out the weird tornadoes at the beginning and get down to the core of what this movie's about, there's some cool ideas in here. I really liked Robot April. Okay, Robot April was awesome. You can tell that Tara Reid is kind of getting sick of this. They gave her all of the dumb lines with the "Come with me if you want to live," and which I have spoken to the writer of the Sharknado series personally. We have an interview with him on our channel. You can go back and check it out. And Thunder Levin has said he wanted to use that in Sharknado 3 with Cassie Sherbo. Anthony C. Ferrante, the director, wisely overrode him on that one. Apparently, Tara Reid got the short end of that stick because she has to say, come with me if you want to live. She has to say, may the fourth be... Can't say the word of the title because of the stupid title. May the force be with you. There's another line. She gets a lot of... In a movie with plenty of cheesy lines, she gets a unhealthy amount, and she just kind of, it almost works better though because she doesn't try to imitate or like go over the top of them. She's like, may the force be with you, come with me if you want to live. It almost feels like a more real delivery than if she was trying. I don't know if that's to the series credit or to Tara Reid's credit or what, but that was kind of interesting. Finn Shepard in a mecha suit, despite the fact that it takes forever to get there, it was a cool idea. There's a lot of cool over-the-top moments in this. And it just felt, it felt like there was so much stuff distracting from that. It felt bloated. They add another Shepard to the family in this. Dag nabbit, I can't even remember her name. She shows up at the beginning, and I think they say something about her being the Shepard's cousin, but she's just, like, there. She's just shown up, and, I think it's an eye candy thing. I think they wanted somebody with boobs to be in the beginning of the movie and, doing stuff against sharks, and they used her. But it feels weird when you already have 3 pretty cool, strong women in this franchise, right? So you have April, who's a robot. Understandable, they think she's dead in this one. A whole plot thing, which this is like a conspiracy theory, but I don't know actually what the campaign results were. I don't know if anybody ever actually went and tallied up the hashtag April lives and hashtag April dies. This is kind of a cheat between the two because she's sort of did die, but no, she's a robot, but she's still a person inside the robot. Anyway, so you have April. You have the daughter whose name I'm blanking on right at this moment, but the actress in Sharknado 3 actually did a pretty dang good job, and she comes back for this one, has almost nothing to do. And then you have Nova. stuff happens with Nova at the end, the very end, which I don't know what's going on with that, but still, you could have had the daughter in that role. Maybe you don't want to sex her up too much because she's supposed to be sort of younger and the daughter figure and all that, but still, she's cool. She could, kill some sharks with a chainsaw. And then the son comes back, Matt, from the first one. Different actor, which is a shame because as much of a block of wood as Matt was in that first movie, the guy they got to play him was like, he did not go to block of wood acting school. Okay, he has nothing, and he doesn't even look as good as the Matt in the first one. So he does have a cool entrance in theory where he's sort of skydiving and he's getting married and he skydives onto the roof of the casino and, the Sharknado shows up right as he's there. And that's all fine and good in theory, but that actor brings nothing to the role. His wife, who he's marrying, I thought it was pretty cool. They finally had a black character in there that was like a main character. She's a shepherd now because she's married to him. Again, brought nothing to her role. And it's a weird thing to say because I know that it's Sharknado and there's going to be bad acting, but Finn Shepard actually, he's a cheesy character, but I've always thought that the actor who plays him does a pretty good job. Like he plays him with a certain earnestness that really works for the character. And I would say the same thing for Nova. Cassie Sherbo has done a number of sort of cheesy sci-fi type movies, but she always does her best in them. April, yeah, she's kind of phoning it in. David Hasselhoff is being David Hasselhoff, but David Hasselhoff is awesome. It felt like unnecessary stuff. I wish they would have streamlined the story down, focused on a few awesome, ridiculous things, right? Radioactive atomic NATO is a cool idea. The guy who has come up with the way to kill the Sharknadoes, they're the pods. This billionaire investor guy whose name I've forgotten that was an okay character. Again, nobody's winning an Oscar here, clearly, but as an element of the story thread that works within the Sharknado universe, he was cool. There was a lot of good elements in here, but they were drowned out by the noise. There was just endless, nonstop noise, and there were many times when I laughed and had a good time, but then I had to go back to sitting through, oh, here's Dog the Bounty Hunter's cameo. Oh, here's the cameo from the guy from Lavalantula. Didn't like that movie, didn't finish it, but man, we have to be reminded, outside of all the commercials for it, also that this guy exists also in the same universe. Shoot me now, because I don't want to have to deal with that. No. It's a mixed bag. It's a real bad mixed bag, and that is coming from me, who, as I've said, am a huge fan of this franchise. They need to tell a simpler story. It can still be a dumb story. It can still be a ridiculous, over-the-top story, but it needs to have fewer things going on. Just take the time to tell a story about a nuclear NATO. The first Sharknado was great because it was just the Sharknadoes, and that was fine. And then, 2 is whatever. I honestly didn't like 2 that much, although it wasn't as bloated as this is. And then you get to 3, and 3 was fun because you go into space. They have, it was over the top, and you can still be over the top, but focus down, trim it down, make it work a little better, sci-fi. I have seen 3 or 4 of the other films that premiered this week for Sharknado week, which, by the way, as much as I'm sort of disappointed in Sharknado here, I hope it does not go away for the sheer fact that this whole week has been wonderful. And I have to say, every single one of the movies that I've seen so far this week, of the other bad shark movies, has been better than Sharknado 4. Okay, I saw Damn Sharks, which had some surprisingly good performances. Again, nobody's winning an Oscar. I always feel like I'm walking a weird tightrope here and somebody's going to yell at me because... but it worked okay. There was Atomic Shark, which oh boy, that had some problems, but they were doing some really interesting stuff with it at least, and they went some really unexpected way. Ice Sharks, I haven't finished yet, but man, is that one picked up about the halfway mark. I was bored to tears about halfway through, and then stuff happened, and I was like, I'm on board. And then Planet of the Sharks, again, while flawed as all of these movies are, I thought was a really good low-budget execution of a high-concept sci-fi shark thing. And Sharknado, because it's Sharknado, because everybody knows the name, because they can get these cameos from people who will be in there for 4 minutes like Carrot Top and then be gone, it's wearing out its welcome. And I'm saying that as a fan. I don't want this to happen, guys. I don't want you to run it into the ground. Run the idea into the ground, but stop with the cameos, please. Not completely, but maybe invest in one really great cameo. Like just one that'll blow everybody's socks off, and people will be like, oh wow, Hugh Jackman showed up and shanked a shark with like his 3 Wolverine claws. That was awesome. And then tell your other story around that. Don't make it all about the cameos. You said in your advertisement everyone who said yes was in this, and oh boy, do I believe it. Calm down. Anyway, that's all I have to say about Sharknado 4, The Fourth Awakens. I don't know if it's the worst in the franchise, but it's the noisiest, and that's a problem for me. Because the noise makes it boring, and there's no reason Sharknado should ever be boring. Get your act together, Syfy. Get your act together, The Asylum. I know you can do better because I've seen you do better. The best thing I can say about Sharknado 4 is it has me excited for Sharknado 5 because we get Nova back, and Nova's the best character in this series. Thanks for watching, guys. Check out our other videos. Check out my Albert vs. the Asylum series if you like Asylum movies or you don't. You can watch me make fun of them and yell about how ridiculous and fun and wonderful they are. And as always, like, subscribe, comment, and tell me what you thought about Sharknado 4. And I'll see you guys next time.